I think what we're doing with China is the right thing to do in the sense there's been imbalances for way too long, and there has to be a day that they change.
You would hate it if you were CEO of Honeywell.
I would not like it at all. But
would give it,
so now we're going to record something.
Yeah, and probably I'd talk a little bit about it differently today than I would have had I been in the CEO suit. But nonetheless, I think what we're doing there is the right thing. I think it's going to take a long time to resolve. China's made a couple of moves that would suggest that they're going to ease. The best thing we have going in that dispute is the Chinese people. The people, they stay in power over there because they employ people. If that employment begins to get strained in terms of a downturn in their economy, they're going to be pressured to bring more important stuff to the table. And I think rather than our negotiating brilliance, that'll bring about a settlement down the road.
But earlier we made the point that it's a teachable moment, is I think the expression, and that is, it seems like our pressure is working in their economy. I mean, it's not the only thing, obviously. They've got their own issues in China because it's a tough transition that they're making. But here, it seems like we can stand it a little bit better, and maybe we're able to exert pressure because we have the upper hand. But then look what happens to our stock market when China slows. Do we really want to force China into a slowdown when it comes back and bites us in the rear?
Well, I think that's the balance that you got to achieve. But remember, we import $500 billion worth of goods from China. So if that begins to wane, they're going to be under great pressure, it seems to me, to do something. So I think this settlement will occur, but I don't think it's going to occur overnight.
Wait, you think the settlement will occur, and what will the settlement look like? Because the details are what so many people are kind of harping about on this point. Are we going to go back to the point where it's just back to more of a normalized situation like we've had for recent decades, or is this going to be a new regime where there really are more access for American companies? They don't need to pick up local joint venture partners. And intellectual property theft actually comes down. What kind of deal do you expect?
I think you just hit it on the nose. In my mind, at least, the strength of the settlement will depend on those two things. Do we, in fact, have protection for intellectual property, and do we have equal access to government business? The tariffs are one thing, but at the end of the day, if we don't make progress on those other 2 points, the settlement won't be nearly so.
We've gone round and round on the IP issue. This is now for decades with them.
Yep.
I'm not sure them promising that they're going to somehow help us on IP or enforce IP rules is going to be a game changer, because we've seen what their version of enforcement actually is. To me, competition is probably the only thing that's going to get you there. And the question is how much of that is going to be real and how much of it's going to be a head fake ultimately, given that they've had the 2025 plan. Even if they say we're going to relax the 2025 plan publicly, that's one thing, but we know what their ambition is long term. And then the question is, are we in some kind of are we trying to contain China? Is that what this ultimately is about? Or is this really just a trade skirmish temporarily?
No, I mean, I do think that the Chinese can enforce anything they want. They haven't had any interest in enforcing it, but part of the settlement would be how are they going to enforce it? So I think protection of intellectual property continues to be a mainstream of any settlement. I do think that if we have equal access, we're going to do fine competitively.
And you think we're going to get equal access? You think that's happening?
I think we'll make progress. I'm not naive to think it's going to be open and free in the way we would express it, but I think it'll be better than it is now.